Welcome to CSS Mentor. My name is Mariam and I am your instructor for the course of Anthropology. Today we are going to continue with the course of Anthropology by studying the third subfield of social anthropology, that is Linguistic Anthropology. So what is Linguistic Anthropology? Linguistic anthropology is a subfield of anthropology that focuses on the study of language and its relationship to culture. So, linguistic anthropologists are basically interested in understanding how language shapes and is shaped by social, cultural, and historical contexts. So this field basically concerns itself with the extent to which language shapes or influences culture, and is language necessary for the transmission of culture, and does a language provide information about the beliefs and practices of a human culture. So there are basically four sub-branches of anthropological linguistics. The first being historical linguistics. So this branch deals with how language emerges and changes over time. Descriptive linguistic deals with the study of how languages are structured. Ethnolinguistics deals with the relationship between language and culture. And social linguistics, as the name implies, it deals with the sociological aspects and deals with basically variations and dialects of language in different social contexts. So let's get into it. The first is historical linguistics. So, as we know, this deals with the concept of how languages emerge and change over time. So, there are various theories for this that linguistic anthropologists provide. The first being the bow wow theory. According to this theory, language began when our ancestors started imitating the natural sounds around them, such as the rustling of trees, splash of waterfall, or voices of animals, and our ancestors basically just started imitating all those sounds and what they could hear from nature. The second theory being the ding dong theory. This theory, favored by Plato and Miller, proposed that all things have a vibrating natural resonance, echoed somehow by man in his earliest words. The Popo theory. This theory basically holds that speech began with interjections and exclamations, sudden expressions of emotions, instinctive emotive cries such as "oh" for surprise and "ouch" for pains, the sounds that were basically produced accidentally. The the fourth being the yo-he-ho theory, and according to this theory, language evolved from the grunts, groans, snorts evoked by heavy physical labor. The second branch of descriptive linguists deals with how language is structured. So this deals with uh, three basic concepts. That is that language is arbitrary, so that there is no inherent relationship between the signifier and the signified. Rather, it's a constructed one, that there is no natural relationship between word and its meanings, but we are the ones that actually construct the meanings for words. One can attach any meaning to any set of alphabets, and if people started adopting that word, it would become meaningful for people in that particular locality. The second concept is productivity, which is also called creativity or open-endedness, and it is an aspect of language which is linked to the fact that the potential number of utterances in any human language is infinite. So basically, human beings keep on uttering new and new words, making up slangs in their own language as they go, and basically producing more words which are included in the vocabulary of that language. And number three is cultural transmission. So, language is not something a person can inherit from his or her parents. You acquire a language in a culture with other speakers and not from parental genes. For example, if a baby is born in Japan to Japanese parents but is then adopted and brought up from birth by English speakers in the United States, then that baby will inevitably end up speaking English instead of Japanese. The third branch is ethnolinguistics. So, this field deals with the relationship between language and culture. So, according to ethnolinguistics, language basically mirrors values. For instance, the value placed on individualism is deeply rooted in North American psyche. To illustrate, one is likely to find in any standard English dictionary no fewer than 150 such words such as self absorbed, self appointed, self centered, and self confidence, revealing that how much that culture places emphasis to the language, especially on the word of individualism. So the words I, me, and mine are among the first words an English speaking child learns. Another example of it is proverbs, and proverbs are a vehicle of culture and language which greatly reflect the moral values of any society. Okay, and then there's the important concept of language determinism or the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So Benjamin Lee Whorf proposed that language is a base of cognitive structure or language, or basically, language determines our thinking processes, which we call language determinism. We basically think differently because we speak differently. So, according to this hypothesis, the notion that a person's language shapes her or his perception and worldview. So, it shapes their worldview, shapes their perception, and whatever they think. And you cannot basically think about anything or have a perception about anything or especially about a word that you couldn't even think about. For example, there is a concept of vatta satta in our Pakistani culture, but if you use the word in front of an American child or a child of different ethnicity, then the concept would not be transferred to them. So they cannot basically perceive or think about that word, but for a Pakistani child, that would be easy to understand. Moving on to the fourth branch, which is social linguistics. So, social linguists are interested in studying how people use language depending on the social situation or context in which they are operating. We speak different forms of the same language depending on the social situation. What is said and how it is said are often influenced by variables such as age, gender, relative social status of the people involved. For example, you would speak more respectfully to someone who is older than you and speak more frankly to your friends. So, this process is known as code switching. So, we basically switch our language as per the requirement of social conditions, the practice of adapting one's language depending on the social situation. So, the impact of code switching. So, shifting between languages and dialects can add layers of meaning and emphasis to a point, and it shows conflict between the identity people show and hide, and reveals hidden meanings or personal insights into the world through culture, languages, and identity. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much.